know, nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
I mean, it's football in this league. You know, it always comes down to usually the last play, and sometimes it takes overtime. So, you know that every game's going to be close like that.
In that kind of situation, are you doing the math in your head when you get down there to try to figure out how long the field goal is? Like, are we close enough? Are we not close enough?
You know, I know our range. You know, we get inside the 30, even the 35 with Greg. You know, you can make it. So you kind of know where you want to get to, but every yard is precious, and I think you still want to get as many as you can. You know, be greedy.
Tell me one thing about the game today. Why did our kicker miss the game-winning kick wide right when they were in Arizona right there, and it was wider than kicking it right to Minnesota, which is probably 1,000 miles right there. Tell me why, Mackie, it was that wide right.
I can tell you.
With the game on the line, when a guy kicks 250-yard field goals to make the game interesting, and my brother right here said to me, look, all I got to do is this. All I got to do is, with 30 seconds left and the clock running, why don't you go up top like Joe Gibbs would when the Redskins were a dynasty and maybe take a shot and win the game when you had a terrible field goal kicking history in Minnesota Vikings NFL history? Tell me why. Can you just tell me why? Please tell me why.
Oh, my God. I agree with George Jefferson's comment there on Ventline yesterday that we pulled in on the bottom during Bob in Pennsylvania's rant. I'm dead after 2 hours of Ventline yesterday. Well, this is Purple Daily Minnesota Vikings entertainment presented by Surly Brewing Company. Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad, Declan Goff. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. Starting 0-2 and missing a 37-yard field goal is not going to.
How about we dumb it down to make a key field goal for today?
Should we change the mission statement of the show? We just want the Vikings to make basic field goals.
Important basic field goals that, let's say, can win a game on the road where you played really pretty well.
Yeah. Process leads to results.
When you're making like an outline for a research paper, 1, win a Super Bowl. A, make clutch field goals. That's the A of the 1. Please make clutch field goals.
Like it.
Woof.
So we're going to get into our pie chart of blame here as we do. Listen, the pie chart of praise is ready. The pie chart of praise is knocking on the door, but it's been 5 games, 3 preseason, 2 regular season, and apparently the pie chart of praise doesn't want to make an appearance. If you're watching us here on a TCL TV, the Purple Daily YouTube channel, thank you guys, because TCL is one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They offer up a new lineup of award-winning TVs at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. All right, let's get it.
Now on Mackey and Judd.
This chart makes it as clear as I can to you.
The pie chart of blame.
You want to blame somebody?
All right, I'm going to lead us off here with the pie chart, but how are you guys feeling today? You've had almost a full day to digest that debacle. Are you more annoyed by the Vikings and Greg Joseph now than you were yesterday, or has it dissipated a little bit? How do you guys feel real quick?
It subsided for me a little bit, but it's just because it's the same old story over and over. It's still frustrating and annoying. But when he missed that field goal yesterday was probably the apex of my being annoyed because it was ridiculous. Now I've come down, and you know what? Ventline helped. I got to admit, calls like Bob,
it is therapeutic.
They help you.
Yeah. Dex, how are you feeling?
About the same. I feel about the same. I'm just more frustrated. When it happened, I wasn't throwing the TV. I wasn't that upset. I was just more flabbergasted, sitting in my apartment alone and just kind of put my hands up in disgust. So
yeah, I'm still pretty annoyed. I mean, I spent about 4 hours before going to bed just arguing with people on Twitter, and I think that sparring really settles me down before going to bed. It's great.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
I have 3 slices of pie for my pie chart of blame today.
Okay.
I'm giving 50% of my pie chart of blame. It's more of a lifetime achievement slice here, because I think you guys might go Greg Joseph. 50% of my pie chart of blame goes to Mike Zimmer. It's funny, too, before I get through my reasoning here, Judd just got an email from EDJ Sports, which does sort of analytical dissections of the NFL games. And they rank their top 5 worst coaching decisions of every single week. And it's based on like win probabilities, what the optimal decision would be. 3 of the 5 worst decisions across the league were made by Mike Zimmer and the Vikings. And it was mostly fourth downs, like the 4th and 1 they didn't go for early in the fourth or the third quarter, like midway through the third quarter. And we can get into some of that later, but I thought that was an interesting analytical look at Mike Zimmer's day yesterday. So I've largely defended Zimmer over the years because ultimately his teams have been very competitive. He's like 17, I think it's like 15 now, 15 games over 500. His train wreck seasons are 7-9. But my biggest question after sleeping on it and going through 2 hours of Ventline yesterday is this: what is the point of having a defensive-minded head coach who has terrible defenses lately, by the way, who mostly ignores the other aspects of his job? What are we doing here? If this is going to be another season where the defense is anything other than top 10, right now they're giving up 30 points per game, which is atrocious. He rarely takes part in any offensive strategy. Like, he's not in there diagramming offensive plays and schemes. He's not having hours-long discussions. In fact, in the offseason, when he talked about, we did a lot of self-reflection. We had some come-to-Jesus meetings about the defense and how the defense can keep up with modern offenses. It's like, why are you having the same meetings offensively about how to optimize? I mean, the offense was largely really good yesterday. My point is, Mike Zimmer outsources offense. He's a defensive coordinator who outsources offense. He seems to have really no meaningful relationship with his starting quarterback. And then I would say the most egregious thing is he is such a terrible end-of-half strategist. The decision to squib kick to the Cardinals with Matt Prater just waiting to get to the 50-yard line to boom a 62-yard field goal, like kick it through the back of the end zone. Stuff like that happens time and time again. Running 40 seconds off the clock at the end of the game with a kicker that's not that experienced in those situations. Why not keep chunking forward and gaining more yards? So I would say the most damning statistic, all right, and again, if Greg Joseph makes a kick yesterday, then the discussion's different, but if the Cardinals finish above 500 this season, Mike Zimmer will be, and we count this game in these standings, Mike Zimmer 17-40 against teams that finish the season with a winning record. That's the second worst winning percentage during his tenure among coaches that have coached at least 4 years. That's putrid, and it's unacceptable. And Mike Zimmer ultimately oversees the entire thing, even though Greg Joseph was the one that missed the kick that led to their demise yesterday.
And no surprise, coaching's really important in games against good teams when those games are probably going to be close, right? Because like the Vikings don't get blown out a lot, so it's not like, well, they go in and just choke. They don't. But if Zimmer had the same game yesterday against Campbell and the Lions, the Vikings win, right? And like we're mildly annoyed by the decisions that didn't go the way that they should have, but they won the game, and so you're like, okay, they won. Yeah. But I'm guessing if you go back through that 17-40 potentially, and you look at the common thread, like what's the common thread here? I'm willing to bet a lot of times questionable coaching calls will show up, because when you make the wrong call against good teams take advantage of that.
Yeah. Yep. It's true. All right, I'm going to speed through the rest of this because I know you guys have a lot to say too.
You're on the clock.
2 other slices. See if I can beat Judd's record of 14 minutes.
Slow it 4 corners, baby. North Carolina, Dean Smith. Slow it down.
40% of my pie chart. So 50% Zimmer, 40% Greg Joseph. All right. So sometimes we get way too caught up in overanalyzing the back and forths of a football game, right? Well, the defense, this, and well, what if the offense had done this? And, what about the this person that fumbled late in the game, like all of those things that's what happens in a football game. Defense will allow, like, look at that game last night on Sunday Night Football. Those are two of the best teams in the world, and they can't make a stop, right? It's back and forth. And sometimes you just need your kicker to make a basic kick. He's a professional NFL kicker. And so, yeah, the defense should have been better yesterday. And yeah, the offense probably shouldn't have stalled out in the third and fourth quarter. And yeah, Dalvin Cook probably shouldn't have fumbled last week. Things happen in football games. And at the end of 3 hours, when you're facing a 37-yard field goal, you can wipe it all away by doing your job and not having urine run down your leg. And I will mention this too. We talk about the last field goal. They lost the game by 1 point. He also missed an extra point early in the game. Mm-hmm. And then he had a chance to make up for it by making a 37-yard field goal that he also couldn't make. Mm-hmm. So 40% goes to Greg Joseph for just not doing his job at a basic level. And then I'm going to give 10% to Bashaud Breeland and Patrick Peterson for getting torched by aging AJ Green throughout the day and giving up 400 passing yards. These are supposed to be your new trusted starting cornerbacks, and Pat Peterson's making his return to Arizona. We're going to do this, right? 400 yards passing for Kyler Murray and just a debacle defensively. So 10% to the Vikings' new starting cornerbacks. That's my pie chart of Vikings blame.
The Rock knows how you feel
let's see
about
the
pie.
clock.
6 minutes?
6:34.
6:34.
6:34.
It's not too bad.
6:34.
Not too bad. All right.
All right. I have only 4 pieces of pie. That's it for
The
this
Rock
week.
knows how you feel about pie.
We're on the clock.
Okay, Greg Joseph, 30%. Come on down. You make 2 52-yard field goals and you miss an extra point, and from 37 yards to win the game? Come on. Phil talked about it, but that's ridiculous. 30%. Mike Zimmer, questionable decisions, a defense that isn't nearly consistent enough and not nearly as improved as we expected through 2 games, a clear lack of faith in your offense. What's your strength now, Mike? What's the strength of your coaching? Like, what do you empower? What do you improve? What do you make better? Not in-game decisions, but that's always been the case. He has never been a good in-game coach as far as clock management and going for it goes. But, it used to be defense, and now that's dissipated. So 30% to Joseph, 30% to Zimmer. 20% goes to the Vikings defense as a whole. I'm not going to pick on one player, but they gave up 24 points and 277 yards in the first half, 474 for the game. They are at times in their first 2 games hemorrhaging yards. This was supposed to be a new and improved defense, and instead it looks it's not as bad as last year, but it's certainly not as good as the Vikings and fans expected. And the problem is this: if this is not a top 5 defense, I don't think you've got a chance, because that's how this was all built, predicated around. We have a defensive coach who knows how to rebuild this thing, and he's going to make it better, and it's not. So 20% goes to a defense that so far I would say has some very good players, but has been disappointing as a unit. I think that's fair to say.
They're allowing 6.5 yards per play so far this season.
But I mean, I can't get caught up in, Hunter had a huge day. Well, no, he's really good. I get that. But the whole thing's supposed to be good, not, oh man, we got a couple of good players. Yeah. And then my last 20% actually goes to a guy who never took the field a play yesterday, but 20% goes to Rick Spielman. Why would you sign a kicker who hadn't attempted a field goal in a game since 2018? Why would you do that? Why would you not have long ago said, you know what, Mike and kickers don't gel, so I'm going to get the best damn free agent kicker, and I'm going to invest in that position so it's solved, so the problem is gone. And instead, you keep this just rotating line of kickers coming through. I won't be surprised if Greg Joseph doesn't last the season now, and so it's just ridiculous. So my final 20% goes to Rick Spielman.
Yeah.
Declan, let's see the clock.
2:41.
Wow, dude.
2:41 for Judd
Look
Zolgan.
at Judd.
Okay. All right.
Look at Judd.
Hurry up, offense right there. 2 minutes.
I think, but now we got some time now we can sort of go back through here, and the Spielman factor is an interesting one, and that's what, if you missed Chancey and Fargo's rant on Ventline yesterday, definitely go find that. Because he says the last 5 years, we've known that kicker has been a problem, a revolving door, offensive line, cornerback. Why is it that everyone knows what the main problems are, and the Vikings front office and coaching staff still has the same sticking points year after year after year? And I will actually say, in defense of Rick Spielman, partly, he has clearly tried to address offensive line more in the last 5 years through the draft than he did the first 10 years he had influence in the front office, where they never, outside of Matt Khalil basically, they just rarely spent high picks on offensive linemen. Garrett Bradbury, all right, that was a first-round pick. Brian O'Neill they actually hit on. Ezra Cleveland was a second-round pick. So they've recognized the issue on offensive line. And Ezra Cleveland, according to Pro Football Focus, was actually really good again yesterday. Garrett Bradbury was better. But ultimately, the kicker thing is unforgivable. Like, the fact that year after year, it's a mix of veteran that gets cut and then a fifth-round draft pick that gets cut and then goes off and has an amazing career with Oakland/Las Vegas. How they have been unable to just figure out some sort of professional solution at that position is mind-boggling.
Yes. And when you know that your head coach is tortured by kickers, like he doesn't get them, they are not football players. They're more golfers than football players. And year after year after year to continue this revolving door of kickers is ridiculous, because no matter how much you might hate them, they can be the most important person at the end of the game, as we learned yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, why didn't all you had to do to solve this problem was sign and it wouldn't be cheap, but a free agent kicker who was a veteran and not declining, right? Dan Bailey was declining, and so like he fell apart, and it was difficult to watch him fall apart as badly as he did. But if you had gone out and signed a veteran kicker, 4-year contract, who was in the prime of his career, he would have been fine. And you just never did it.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
You know, before we get to Declan's pie chart, all right, a lot of people on hot seats right now. Mike Zimmer, Rick Spielman, a lot of hot seats right now. When you're on a hot seat, we recommend Chill Boys, the most comfortable underwear on the planet. Chill Boys cares about one thing: your comfort, our comfort. Bamboo fabric, the athletic fit boxer briefs. These are the most comfortable boxer briefs I've ever worn in my life. What's one word to describe how Chill Boys is making you guys feel today?
Altering. Life altering, but I'll just go with the word altering. It's altered my life as far as my approach to boxers and the comfort that I realized I can get through them. Declan?
Relaxed, because it's the only thing that's keeping me relaxed and sane over the last about 24 hours or so. Also, because when you're golfing, you have that performance brand on. You know, that's a great sign. Fall golf weather's around. I even saw our friends at Chill Boys tweeted out they have the new long underwear that has just come out as well. So when it's gonna be wintertime before we know it. Really? Now you'll get long compression underwear, dude. I'm a big fan. So Chill Boys, check them out.
You're for it. Chillboys.com. Also, a shout out to the Minnesota State Lottery. So they've got Vikings scratch game tickets. If the Vikings are under delivering to you as a fan, well, maybe these scratch game tickets will over-deliver. You can win $100,000 playing the $5 game. You can win up to $15,000 playing the $2 Skull game, and secondary prizes like Vikings tickets and merchandise. Just say, I'm into Vikings scratch games from the Minnesota Lottery. Must be 18 or older to play.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
All right, Declan, your pie chart of blame.
All right. 3 pieces of pie. I had like 5 or 6 pieces of pie chart of praise that I was constructing by the end of the fourth quarter, and I got ahead of myself.
Dude.
And then
this is your fault. This is your fault, Declan.
Yeah. That's fine. If you want to believe in jinxes and I ruined the Vikings, if that helps you sleep better at night, please do it. But I'll tell you, as a chef, I was upset I had to throw away my ingredients.
I need to revamp my pie chart of blame. I'm giving 15% to Declan for jinxing the Vikings yesterday.
How dare you?
Can't start your pie chart of praise early.
All right, three chunks of pie. I'm going to go to Mike Zimmer to start. Clock management, game management, a defense that's allowed 400-plus yards. Your defensive backs stink. This defense is not what it used to be. Watching Mike Zimmer basically fumble and bumble his way through that game with the Vikings offense coming back and the line playing pretty well. Kirk leading the team down the field to put him in field goal range, and Zimmer, just his defense is not what it used to be. So 10% of my blame will go to Mike Zimmer. And then another 10% to Spielman and expectation. So I'm going to put those two together, Rick Spielman and expectation, as one chunk of 10%. You spent all this money, and you spun it that we have fixed the defense. Look, we have plugged and played Dalvin Tomlinson. We went out and got some new defensive backs and Patrick Peterson. We brought back Mackenzie Alexander. And we have now fixed this defense, and we will jump from 30th in the NFL to being a top 10 unit again. No, it's just not. It's going to be an average defense at best. Danielle Hunter's awesome. I'm glad he's back. That dude was feasting. I was happy to see him get some sacks yesterday. But in general, this defense is average at best. And to me, I'm putting blame on Rick Spielman for putting all those resources there. So that's 10% of my blame as well. And then the final, I got 80%. It's to Greg Joseph, dude. All you got to do is make an extra point. All you got to do is make a game-winning field goal. And in fact, our friend Jeremy Simon here at Hubbard Broadcasting sent me a possible new updated Purple Daily logo. I want to see what you guys think of this. Purple Daily, wide right. Courtesy of our friend Greg Joseph for the debacle in week 2.
For the audio audience, envision the Purple Daily logo minus the Y with a goalpost instead and a football sailing wide right. It's not odd.
That's actually pretty funny.
Oh, my God.
Sad, but funny.
So three chunks of pie for me. 10% to Spielman and expectations, 10% to Mike Zimmer, and 80% to Greg Joseph.
The Rock knows how you feel about
232.
pie.
There it is.
Nice clock management there, Declan.
It's pretty
Thank
good.
you.
Hey, you
Big
guys,
helps.
hit us up in the Purple Daily YouTube comment section. What is your pie chart of blame for the Vikings loss and their 0-2 start? I mean, those are probably two separate things. Just for this loss, and then if you want bonus points, this current state of the Vikings, what is your
Extra credit.
pie chart of blame? For a future episode, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, somewhere in there, I've been doing some more digging on Mike Zimmer versus winning teams. There's a whole other discussion to be had there. And the Cardinals have to prove that they will finish the season with a winning record before this counts as a loss to a winning team. But it's bad. Like, it is his teams win most of their games against bad teams. And then when they have some sort of equal foe or a better team, he's got one of the worst records in the NFL. That said, every time the Vikings lose, we also go through, even if we're furious and fed up, our silver linings. Mm-hmm. So let's go around the room. Let's make at least one trip. Mm-hmm. Let's eat our broccoli here. Okay. Silver linings. We'll start with Judd Zolgad.
This is simple. Kudos, congratulations, and nice work by number 8, Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins, I thought yesterday, Kirk Cousins, and I hate the old, well, it's not his fault, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Kirk Cousins did his job. He did his job. And I think the thing I like the most is his box score is not like unbelievable. It's not like, oh, what a huge box score. But if you watch that game, Kirk Cousins had a nice game. He had the one strip sack, but he also had 2 runs that were impressive. I thought he did a really good job of distributing the ball. Osborne, Jefferson, Thielen caught a bunch of passes. It didn't feel like he locked in on Adam as much as he ordinarily does. And that early touchdown pass, that deep shot on the first drive to Osborne was a gorgeous pass, a gorgeous play. And Phil, I think you tweeted this. It's exactly what we've been asking for. Like, make that play, use the run, set up the pass. And they did that early. So Kirk Cousins, to me, gets full credit for that game and was 100% a silver lining. He's not in the pie chart of blame. Played really well, I thought.
Mm-hmm. I had a bunch of people trolling me yesterday on Vikings Twitter.
You?
I know, shocking, right? Hey, Mackie, how are you going to pin this one? Hey, Mackie, how are you going to pin this one on Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, you son of a...
I'm not. Like, he was excellent. First half, especially in the last drive of the game. Like,
I like how they're still more upset with you than the team after a loss like that.
I know, dude. It's like there's a faction of people that it's like they're Kirk Cousins fans first, and their entire agenda is to just shield Cousins or talk Cousins up.
Sano fans are pretty much the same way.
Dude, are you a Twins fan? Are you a Vikings fan?
It's like, if you looked hard at what Sano does, he does some things really well. It's like, no, he's a disappointment. No, you don't, And it's like, you're right. So
and there's this whole discussion all the time too about blame, right? Like, how are you going to blame it? It's like, so I'm less interested in blame, even though, listen, pie chart of blame is one of my favorite Monday staples. I'm more interested in solutions. How do you win when things are crumbling around you?
Yep.
Who's going to pick up the pieces? Who's going to rise above, right? And like my Kirk Cousins criticism comes from that angle. It's less about is he to blame and more about what is he doing when your defense is having a bad day? What is he doing when your offensive line isn't playing well? Is he able to overcome some of those things? And guess what? Yesterday, he did. Down the stretch, now the second to last drive, if it would have ended on that note, or they went 3 and out and he throws a check down to Amir Abdullah on 3rd and 7, a 3-yard in the air pass to Amir Abdullah, we'd be having a different conversation here. But on the last drive, and this is my silver lining, just Kirk and the offensive line in a moment of crisis, you got to score. They know you're going to pass. Under 3 minutes to go. It was under 2 minutes to go. Those are the situations that historically, statistically, the Vikings and Kirk Cousins are not good in. And he completed 4 big passes. He had a drop. Justin Jefferson dropped what would have been a 5th one. And he moved the ball down the field. There's a 3rd and 10 with a game on the line. Boom, he finds Adam Thielen. So that should be more of how he plays in those situations. That should be how the offensive line holds up. And I think we should hold that entire group to that level. And if the kicker makes the field goal, it's textbook. It's wow, bang, bang. Kirk let him down, 4th quarter comeback, and the kicker blows it. But that's my silver lining, the way that Kirk Cousins and the Vikings played on that final drive when the chips were down and the kicker let him down in that situation. And you could argue, too, in week 1, listen, he led him into field goal range and Dalvin Cook fumbles. So some good signs for Kirk in situations that historically he has not been great in these first 2 contests.
For me, my silver lining is the offensive line. PFF grades coming out, and actually the number 1 player on offense for the Vikings yesterday, Ezra Cleveland, an 84.2 PFF grade. Garrett Bradbury, 70.8 grade. A pretty decent day for Garrett Bradbury. 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen, outside of Rashada Hill, who was pretty meh, actually had graded pretty well yesterday in run and pass blocking grades. So the offensive line held up their end of the bargain. To Mackey's point, Kirk actually leads them down in a game-winning drive situation. He has another one stripped away. These 2 things usually aren't ever married together, and my silver lining is the offensive line did its job yesterday, and still the Vikings, because kickers weren't able to get a bleeping win.
And I think beyond the hit that Chandler Jones delivered to Cook on the probably ill-advised pass by Kirk, I don't think I heard Chandler Jones' name more than like 3 times. Like it was, I had, no idea how they planned to stop him. And they did a really nice job against a guy that had 5 sacks the previous game. So yeah, that's a really good sign and impressive.
I'm trying to decide how much I just want to blurb out here and give away on this show, and how much I want to save for the next couple of days, because there's a lot. The PFF grades, and like Declan said, they just came out in the last 30 minutes. And there's a couple really interesting things offensively here. But I almost think it would be better to go deep tomorrow.
How about defensively? Are there some intriguing grades on the defense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, so overall defensive grades. Xavier Woods was the top graded defensive player, right above Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter had 7 pressures in that game.
Okay, I'm going to find fault there. Danielle Hunter is the top graded player. I'm sorry. I don't care what Woods did.
I mean, they're both right. Like,
I'm just saying.
One was an 86. One was an
I'm just saying I'm tweaking them a little bit, okay?
Judd coming in here. These guys broke the film down.
Zolgad grades.
You know what?
Zolgad
That's
grades.
great. Judd watched the game. Danielle Hunter's number 1.
So he had 7 total pressures. He also had 5 stops in terms of stop tackles. The worst graded defensive players, Patrick Peterson. Armin Watts was technically but he only played 13 snaps. Among guys that played snaps, Patrick Peterson was the worst graded player.
Pat P's not going to be happy. He on his podcast last week, you guys, he went off on his grade against the Bengals because he was charged with a fairly lengthy reception in which he was in zone, and explained that he had done his job and that they didn't know what his job was supposed to be, and so unfairly penalized him. So if he's the worst graded on his podcast this week, he is going to address it.
Well, so he's trying to sort of parse apart blame and whatnot. Let's zoom back out here. The Vikings defense is allowing 11 yards per pass attempt so far this year, second worst in the NFL. And they're getting pressures. Like they're actually second in the league in sacks. They had 19 pressures in that game yesterday. 7 by Daniil Hunter, 5 by Stephen Weatherly, 3 by DJ Wano. Now the problem is you get a pressure on Tom Brady and it might be the end of the play, right?
Right.
You get a pressure on Kyler Murray, he just jukes his way out of the pocket, keeps a play alive, and that's why he can still throw for 400 yards, giving up 19 pressures. But any way you parse it, the Vikings' pass defense has been atrocious the first 2 weeks, and Patrick Peterson is the starting cornerback of note. So I don't care if PFF got a couple plays wrong. Overall, he's not doing the job needed to prevent a team from throwing for 400 yards.
And we talked about this, though. I mean, Peterson is a potential Hall of Fame player coming off a really bad year or two. So, okay, he's got a big name, but he's at the end basically, and it'll be interesting to see between Peterson and Breland if they find a way to get them some help, because I feel like they need more help than they're getting. But I also feel like Zimmer getting them help flies in the face of what he believes fundamentally is his scheme.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. No, I agree.
And Aqib Talib pointed out beautifully, who, by the way, I thought was money yesterday.
100%.
I love
and,
his
and,
album.
and
I'm glad you brought that
people,
up.
If
I'm glad you
people
brought that
can't
up.
understand him, my uncle, who is like 55 years old, like, I can't hear a word he's saying. Well, then turn up your either hearing aids or turn up the volume, Uncle Bill. I don't know what to tell you.
didn't have trouble
I had no
understanding
problem hearing him. But to the big play that Patrick Peterson missed where Kyler hit someone down the sideline early, he literally pointed out why that play was exactly on Peterson for basically biting. I know Kyler Murray can run, but it was Peterson's fault for coming up when someone was already right there, like, to possibly tackle Kyler Murray, leaving a player wide open down the sideline. Like, that was on Pat P. That's a negative play probably for PFF. It's a negative play on the film.
They do have.
Was great.
They have kicking grades in here too on PFF.
Oh, I'm sure those are pretty.
Curious.
I'm sure those are.
Yeah, Greg Joseph.
Oh, God.
Had a low grade.
Kicking grades.
He had a low
Who
grade.
grades the kickers? I want that job. This guy sucks.
Football.
This guy doesn't suck as bad as that guy. That's my grade.
No, Judd, it's supposed to be a 1 to 100 scale. No, just write that he sucks.
It's an S scale.
He sucks.
This guy didn't suck too bad. Suck up, he doesn't suck.
Oh, man. All right, Judd, the floor is yours here. Surly,
All right.
You must be furious on this Monday about something or a million things.
And first of all, I do want to say that the great thing about Surly and Furious in particular is, unlike your local football team, it never lets you down. It's always there by your side in good times and bad, and maybe in bad, you need it more often. But here's my Surly, you must be furious. And Dex touched on this in Mackey and Judd, but I just want to crystallize it on this show. It is the overall state of the 4 most important men's professional sports teams in this town, okay? The Vikings are so unreliable that the fan base, rightfully so, gets mad at the coach when the coach sends in his kicker to attempt a 37-yard game-winning field goal. And the fan base is like, what are you doing? Because that's how much distrust has been built up through the years in kickers. The position that is supposed to clinch the win, you don't even want that guy to do his job. The Twins have an 18-game losing streak in the playoffs. That's the longest losing streak in the postseason in North American sports.
Yeah.
The Wild finally has a superstar player, and we find out he would rather hang out in Siberia than come over here because he can't get his contract done, and nobody really knows why. And the Timberwolves have 1 playoff berth in 17 years. No fan base deserves this crap. Parents are rightfully so afraid to raise their children as Minnesota sports fans, and I completely get why. And ladies and gentlemen, before you say, but Judd, what about the Lynx? The Lynx, it is not up to the poor Minnesota Lynx to have to carry the crap that these 4 men's professional sports teams put upon us every single time, okay? So I appreciate the Lynx. I give them full credit for championships. They are a great franchise. But that does not excuse the ineptitude and the fact that people are afraid of a kicker doing his job because of the history of kickers in this town. That's why I'm furious.
Yes. There he is. Judge Zolgad, Surly, he must be furious. All right. Tomorrow, couple things going on here. We're still working out some scheduling things, but we're going to bring a new contributor on as a weekly guest, a former Viking that will have some opinions, hopefully starting tomorrow. Plus, don't forget Realistic Randy on Purple After Dark tomorrow night. Guessing he'll have a couple takes as well.
No, no way.
Shout out to our friends at Moon Motorsports in Monticello. So if you are gearing up here, I know I don't like to talk about winter yet because let's still savor the end of summer and the fall here. But this is a good time to prepare for having some fun as the weather gets a little colder. And going on until the end of the month at Moon Motorsports, they're offering big savings on all on-road motorcycle gear. So you can still take advantage of the next few weeks. But also, while you're there, be sure to check out all the other amazing power sports vehicles they have. The largest selection in the region. Moon Motorsports is your motorized family recreation source, offering sales, parts, service, and storage. MoonMotorsports.com, or just check them out in person in Monticello. All right, a lot more to get to the rest of this week. There's things we didn't even unpack yet from, I feel like, from this game, especially as some of the deep dive statistics come out. But be sure to checking us out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Purple Daily YouTube channel, and the Score North YouTube channel. We also talk Vikings on that platform. And yeah, the official new logo of Purple Daily there on your screen. We'll see you guys tomorrow.